Good afternoon, Mr. W.K., and welcome to Monkey Goose.
Thank you very much for having me. It's great to be here.
So let's begin with the issue of pizza. Now, I've been scanning your Instagram recently, and there's been a lot of emphasis on pizza. Now, and it appears that pizza has sort of a major influence over your campaign and your party politics. Is this true?
Well, only as much as pizza has a major influence over all areas of my life in general. It is not any more or less important in any of my political work, but just remains probably an overriding theme in my own existence, period.
Okay, fair enough. But can I ask you if it does have a place in your politics and your life? Now, being a New York City resident as you are, would you hold the rest, as president, would you hold the rest of the nation to the high standards of pizza, which we have here in New York City?
Well, I appreciate you asking that, and I want to clarify, first of all, not that you should have been aware of this. I don't know that anyone necessarily is, but I have not lived in New York City for quite some time now.
Oh.
I actually don't live anywhere. I have resumed life on the road, much as I did from the years 2001 until 2005. I have been living in a series of hotels and certain friends and family, short-term rental apartments, and also, of course, on tour buses and just traveling, etc. So my heart, of course, a big part of that is in New York City, one of the great cities of the world. But with that being said, no, I would never hold the rest of the world to the standards of New York City's pizza. I think it is a fantastic phenomenon, but I don't think anywhere else could pull off pizza like New York. They say it's something in the water. I think it remains unique to New York City, and I think it remains unique to New York City, and that's one of the great things about it. To have all pizzas just be the same would take away a lot of the fun.
Fair enough. So I'm going to consider you a pizza liberal then, not a pizza conservative. Would that be safe to say?
Yeah, I guess so. I just like all pizza.
Fair enough. And one more question about pizza, because obviously it's very important. If you were president, would you sanction a national pizza day, perhaps on Fridays?
I believe there already is a national pizza day. I'm not sure if it's formally recognized by the U.S. government or not, but that doesn't really matter. We don't need their approval in order to celebrate National Pizza Day. I also encourage anyone who loves pizza as much as I do, that every single day can be Pizza Day. Even if you don't eat pizza on that day, it lives within you in spirit, just like Earth Day should be every day, Mother's Day should be every day, Pizza Day should be every day.
That's a very good policy. That's a very libertarian policy on pizza, actually. I can agree with that. Okay. Now
Thank you very much.
Let's move on to the subject of a potential running mate. Now, being that this is so late in the game of the 2016 presidential race, do you have any potential running mates in your eye?
Well, I actually am not running for president in the first place. It was not something that I would ever really want to do. I think it takes a very certain type of person to want to be president. I would like to be president of partying. That is a position that I feel confident I could perform well in. But within that, I would like the whole world to be my running mate.
Okay. So we've all assumed, looking at your candidacy announcement, that it was for the President of the United States, but that wasn't really the case, was it?
No, not that I'm aware of. I've seen people suggesting that or saying they would write me in and being enthusiastic about that, but this was more of a political party, a non-political political party, where we all get to be our own presidents.
Now, on the very topical issue of immigration, now, what are your views on immigration reform? Should there be a strong national border on partying?
Well, the whole world would do better partying together. The one thing we have in common is that we're all human beings, and we would like to be able to identify with one another on that basic principle. And of course, we have different aspects after that. But the starting point is all the same: human beings on the planet Earth. Now, as far as immigration, I mean, a lot of my family members are immigrants. They worked very, very, very hard to move here through the traditional channels and went to great lengths to do everything by the book, and always had a lot of respect for that. I can't really even imagine. I mean, just for me to go across the border to Canada just to play some parties was a huge undertaking and always involves many, many hours of paperwork and a lot of suspicion, etc. So I can't even imagine what it would be like to move your entire family from one country to another, the amount of paperwork, etc. So anyone who does it that way, I realize how much effort that takes.
Fair enough. So there will be no walls built in the way of partying. I agree with that. Now, let me ask you a controversial subject on the war on drugs. Now, in states like Washington and Colorado, where marijuana has been legalized for recreational use, would you agree that the partying, and traveling so much like you do, would you agree that the partying is superior in states where cannabis is legal as opposed to states where it is not legal?
Maybe not in material practice. I think that partying is fortunately so wide open and so inclusive that you don't necessarily need drugs or not need drugs to participate. Aside from that, I personally think all drugs should be legal.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really like the idea of anyone else telling any adult person what they can put in their body, for better or worse. You know, we have to be able to ultimately make these decisions for ourselves. And I think most folks understand that even though many drugs are very dangerous and potentially very harmful, the real issues or the aspects of the war on drugs has very little to do with helping people in terms of their health, their wellness, and it has much more to do with power, corruption, extraordinarily compromised integrities, and manipulation and money. So it's very distressing. But that's what it's come down to. But I see things like the legalization of marijuana as a great step. You know, we're all individual people that should be able to be in control of what we consume.
I admire your views on freedom. The drug war, in my opinion, keeps the private prisons full. So let's move on to the subject of terrorism. Now, ISIS appears to incorporate a fundamentalist anti-party rhetoric as a part of their oppressive belief system. Now, some might agree that their goal is to impose their anti-partying doctrine upon the rest of the free partying world. Now, as a pro-party politician, how would you combat this threat to partying?
Well, I think their main goal, well, their ideal goal, yes, maybe to take over the world. But I think even in their most exuberant fantasies, they don't believe that that's possible. So I think their goal in the meantime, or their more realistic goal, is to inflame fear and inflame the passions of people who believe in total freedom of the human spirit, and they want to freak everybody out. And they've done a fairly decent job of that. But these are really the losers in the game of humanity. And I think that shows through more clearly than anything, is that they're very disillusioned and very frustrated individuals who, for whatever reasons, maybe because of their own choices or maybe because of circumstances that appear to be beyond their control, they have found themselves with very few options, very few resources, very little enlightenment, and they take all that anger and bitterness out by lashing out and trying to make everybody else feel bad.
Makes sense.
Common thing happens on the schoolyard every day. When you can't join them, you try to beat them, and when you're a loser, you want want everyone else to try to lose too. But the great thing is that the human spirit cannot be broken. It can be tampered with, it can be hindered, it can be interfered with, it can be slowed down. But its resilience is actually superhuman. I think it's transcendent. I think it's almost the law of nature. You can't stop the sun from rising. You can't stop the human spirit from fulfilling its own liberation. So they're really fighting an impossible battle, and that's probably what's most frustrating of all. It's just a huge waste of energy and resources and time in human life.
You're quite the philosopher, Mr. W.K. It's very good words.
Oh, yeah, well, that's kind of you to say. Very generous of you to say that. I don't think so, but I'm just partying as far as I can.
All right. Well, it's helping. Okay. Let's move on to the subject of a potential lack of media coverage in your campaign in general. Now, as you know, populist progressives such as Bernie Sanders, all the way to anti-establishment conservatives like Donald Trump, are either ignored, in the case of Senator Sanders, or given negative press, like Mr. Trump, by the anti-party and corporate mainstream media. Now, as a frontrunner of such an anti-establishment party like your own, how would you plan to deal with a potential lack in fair media coverage for your own campaign?
Well, actually, I've been completely blown away by the amount of coverage we've gotten just in this last week. I only announced the party's existence a week ago today on Thursday, March 31st, and since then the reaction has been just unbelievable. I didn't think anyone would really care, or I thought people would be pretty angry. Actually, some people might just be real annoyed by it, but for the most part, it's been a very enthusiastic and positive response. And almost sort of like what I was talking about, the human spirit, we don't need any of these other powers. We have each other. We have ourselves. We will find each other, and we will connect. And the institutional systems in place, they calcify. And once they calcify, they start to break up. They're too stiff. They're too rigid. People see through it. It's over. I say another 15 years, that'll all be done.
Okay.
So it'll just be human beings interacting with human beings without any filter other than our own minds.
Back to the basics. All right. Well, if certain candidates get their way, that might be inevitable in a negative way. It might go back to that, but not under you.
There used to be a great amount of integrity in media and press, and they really held themselves to a very high standard, even if it meant not making as much money. They wouldn't compromise their principles. They made a promise, and took oaths, and took those things seriously. And I think that's pretty much fallen away now. And so people are in control. They can make their own statements, for better or worse. And we will find each other through all the noise, but we don't need people to tell us what's going on as much as we maybe thought we did before. Just like we don't need people to tell us what to do or how to think. We're going to figure these things out on our own. And it might be more painful, and we might have to go through more challenges in that, but ultimately it's probably what's best for us. That's how we're going to learn and grow and become who we are, by doing it ourselves.
All right. Fair enough answer. With the internet now, we have a lot of options. We could really take media into our own hands. That's what we're doing right now.
It's like the Library of Alexandria.
Exactly. Hopefully no one burns it to the ground.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so let me ask you, in your campaign, obviously these things require money, I would imagine. Is the party currently entertaining any corporate donors? Or is this campaign funded entirely by Andrew W.K?
There's been no donors necessary. The one donor that got on board from the very beginning, I went to my friends at Playboy.
Playboy?
They would help me produce that initial announcement video and help me build the website, and most of all, help me do all the research into the actual bureaucratic process required for making a party a reality. And they got on board. They didn't ask for anything in return, and they didn't even put their name or logo on the video. They just believed in this idea, and that's the kind of just untethered enthusiasm or unbeholden enthusiasm that's really allowed this to prosper. Is that it's our own thing. Whoever believes in this or relates to this, we are making it together. We're making it up as we go along. I didn't come with any particular agenda. other than partying.
Partying.
To figure out what we want this to be as we do it.
Okay. So you'd be okay telling the American people that a dirty magazine with good articles is your mainstay political donor or mentor?
Yeah, they were the silent partner. And as
Okay.
you said, they have a great legacy of investigative journalism.
They do.
Of course, they're a very unique American phenomenon. Certainly have paved the way for a type of free speech that, despite some people's reservations about its moral integrity, is certainly part of what makes this country great.
Let me ask you about a book you have written, The Party Bible. Now, do you believe that?
I'm working on that now.
Oh, so it isn't finished yet. Okay.
Oh,
So-
no, yeah. It's
So
not
when this is published and released, do you believe that such a blasphemous title, which appears to unapologetically mock the original Bible, might alienate your potential Christian right fans or voters or supporters?
Oh, I never really thought people would be offended by that. I didn't know that the word Bible was only referring to the Christian Bible. I thought it was a word that referred to sort of a guide to life in general.
I've seen it used in other situations, but I suppose to put party in front of it might offend the more uptight members of that community. It's just a theory I have.
Well, someone who's going to be offended by that is going to be offended by probably anything that I do in general.
Right.
So
Okay.
I wish it wasn't the case, but there's some people that just aren't going to want to party with me no matter what I do.
Right, they weren't invited. Did you ever just not
No,
invite
they're
someone?
invited. They're definitely invited. But
So
they
everyone's
don't have to
invited
come if
then?
they don't want.
Okay.
They're invited, but no one is obligated to come.
Okay. Makes sense. Okay. And do you suppose that your party movement, starting this party movement, are you hoping that your pro-party platform might encourage other political candidates of future presidential races to promote their own brand of party-centric ideals? Let me give you an example. Perhaps the former members of Black Flag might be inspired to form the TV party, or maybe in 2020 Eddie Murphy will run under the Party All the Time party. I mean, do you think that's a possibility? Do you want this to happen?
I mean, I want them to do whatever they want to be even mentioned in the same sentence as all those great people you just
Yeah.
listed there. It's a great honor, and these are my seniors. I don't consider myself in their peer group. These people paved the way for me and for many other partiers, so I'm really just a humble worshiper at their altar of advanced party achievements.
All right. They had the concept of partying, perhaps before you were born. But yeah, the party continues, though, as they say.
Yes, exactly, and it's for us all to carry on together.
It's our obligation as humans. Right. You are a man of much wisdom, and that's all the time we have for today.
Thank you so much for really excellent and thought-provoking questions and a very enjoyable conversation. Thanks also again for your patience during the delay and for your flexibility doing this on the phone rather than on the Google Hangout.
No worries at all. I was having a lot of issues hoping that would work. Okay, so it's been a pleasure, Mr. WK, and thank you very much for joining us here at Monkey Goose.
Thank you very much, and thank you for including me, and have a great rest of your day.
Okay, and I wish you luck with your campaign.
I appreciate that. I really do. Thank you again for your support.
If you enjoyed that interview and you'd like to see more, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. There. Also, check out our written articles at our weblog on monkeygoosmag.com. We're also available on Instagram and Facebook. I'll see you there.